Good evening. Is Nashville's director of schools trying to find a scapegoat to blame for his district's own shortcomings?
Tonight, NewsChannel 5 Investigates uncovers serious new questions about the story that Dr. Sean Joseph tells about why Metro schools failed to report teacher misconduct to the state.
NewsChannel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams has the exclusive new details. Phil?
Well, guys, right now the schools director faces a possible reprimand from the State Board of Education for failing to report teachers who have been fired or suspended for misconduct. But in the case that started the state's investigation, we've dug up new evidence that raises doubts about Dr. Joseph's efforts to blame a former employee. After this explosive outburst inside Nashville's Overton High School, the principal recommended that the teacher, Coach Arnett Bodenhammer, be fired, not only for getting physical with the student, but also for calling the student's mother in what she described as an effort to cover it up.
I mean, he just told me that, he tries not to use the race card, but that we as black people need to stick together.
Dr. Joseph, why will you not answer our question, sir?
But our investigation revealed that Metro Schools Director Dr. Sean Joseph decided to give Bodenhammer a 5-day suspension, which should have been reported to the State Board of Education so it could conduct its own review of Bodenhammer's teaching license.
This is a matter of student safety. It is a matter of protecting the reputation and the integrity of the teaching profession.
Nathan James with the State Board says Joseph's office failed to report Bodenhammer's suspension, and the board discovered even more teacher misconduct cases went unreported, potentially breaking state law. Joseph's response was to blame someone else.
We did have a situation where we had an employee who's no longer an employee in the district that did not send those reports.
It is the director of schools' responsibility.
Last week, as the Metro School Board demanded answers, Joseph's Human Resources Chief Deborah Story echoed that defense.
I can say that a former employee did not submit reports on a consistent basis.
But NewsChannel 5 Investigates discovered that in the case of Arnett Bodenhammer, that former employee, Scott Lindsay, did exactly what he was supposed to do. We obtained this director's report regarding Bodenhammer's suspension, prepared by Scott Lindsay. This email shows Lindsay sent it to the director's assistant per their lawyer's instruction for Dr. Joseph's signature. Board members were told that's exactly what HR is supposed to do.
And Dr. Joseph's office is responsible for sending that to the state board. Is that correct?
Yes.
The superintendent of schools is responsible for what takes place in the district. It's not to say that he or she can be everywhere at all times.
It turns out the man the district has tried to blame is a key witness in 2 separate lawsuits over how Joseph's team has handled sexual harassment cases. Lindsay tried to put former John F. Kennedy Middle School principal Sam Braden on administrative leave before one of Joseph's HR bosses intervened.
Dr. Joseph and I have been friends for a long time.
In the case of former administrator Mo Carrasco, Lindsay uncovered evidence that led to Carrasco's resignation. According to the lawsuits, that led Joseph's team to retaliate against Lindsay.
In fact, he got it right. He found that Mr. Carrasco was guilty, and the retaliation began immediately, write-ups, petty harassment.
And we discovered that Lindsay was not even involved in some of the HR investigations, where Joseph's office has now blamed him for failing to report the misconduct. In the end, the state board said the director should know the buck stops with him.
The captain of the ship is always responsible for what takes place on the ship.
Now, that former employee, Scott Lindsay, has denied our request for comment on these stories. In this case, Dr. Joseph actually signed the report, and his assistant sent a copy back to Lindsay with a note saying it had not yet been sent to the state. But she did not ask him to send it, and as Dr. Joseph's team told the school board last week, it's the HR department's job to prepare the form, but it's not their job to submit it. Vicki?
Thanks.